Orbital station convergence floated in the darkness between three star systems. It was a massive structure made of metal and glass, home to thousands of beings from 12 different species. Here, enemies became trading partners. Here, wars ended with handshakes instead of blood. At least, that was the idea. Ho stepped off the transport ship and took a deep breath. The air was clean but carried strange smells from a dozen different worlds. He had been coming to this station for 3 years now, serving as a diplomatic for Earth. His job was simple: listen, translate, keep the peace. He was good at his job. "Ambassador," a soft voice called out. Ho turned to see hurrying toward him. She was a small creature covered in silver fur with large, nervous eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy as prey species. They had evolved to run and hide, not to fight. Worked as a translator, and she was very good at her job too. "Just Ho is fine," he said with a warm smile. "How are you today?" His ears twitched. She still was not used to humans asking about her feelings. Most species did not bother with such questions. "I am well. The council meeting begins in 1 hour. Ambassador has been difficult this morning." Ho nodded slowly. "Was always difficult." The ambassador looked like a giant insect with hard black shells covering his body and 4 arms that clicked when he was angry. Believed that humans were the lowest species in the galaxy. He never missed a chance to say so. "Thank you for the warning," Ho said. "I will be ready." The council chamber was a circular room with seats arranged in rising rows. Each species had their own section, decorated in their own style. The human section was small and plain. They had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago. In galactic terms, they were bobbies. Ho took his seat and nodded politely to the other ambassadors. Some nodded back. Some did not, stared at him with cold, compound eyes and clicked his arms together. The meeting began with trade discussions, boring but necessary. Ho listened carefully and took notes, then stood up. "I wish to address the matter of human expansion," announced. His voice was harsh like metal scraping against metal. "These creatures continue to request new trade routes. They continue to ask for more resources. They come to us like begging animals, hands open, asking for scraps." Ho felt his jaw tighten slightly. He kept his expression calm. "Humans have no great technology," continued. "They have no natural weapons. They are soft. They are weak. They earned their seat on this council through pity, not merit. I move that we reduce their trading privileges until they prove themselves worthy." Several other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. Some seemed to agree with. Others simply did not care enough to argue. Ho stood up slowly. Every eye turned to him. "Ambassador," he said in a clear, steady voice, "I thank you for sharing your concerns. You are correct that humans are new to the galactic community. We have much to learn." He smiled. "Perhaps we could discuss specific ways that humanity might better contribute to the Council's goals. I would welcome your guidance." His arms clicked rapidly. He had expected anger. He had expected the human to shout or storm out. Instead, he got politeness. It confused him, and confusion made him angrier. "You see," said to the other ambassadors, "they do not even defend themselves. They simply accept insults like trained pets. This is not the behavior of a species worthy of respect." Ho kept smiling. "I prefer to think of it as choosing peace over pride, ambassador, but I understand that different species have different values." The meeting continued. Did not get his vote to reduce human privileges, but only because no one wanted to deal with the paperwork. It was not a victory. It was simply a delay. 3 levels below the council chamber, Park wiped sweat from her forehead. The life support systems on level 7 were failing again, and she was the only engineer available to fix them. She had been working for 6 hours straight. Was 29 years old with short black hair and practical clothes covered in grease stains. She did not care about politics or diplomacy. She cared about machines. Machines made sense. They broke, you fixed them. Simple. The door behind her opened. Heavy footsteps approached. Human, a deep voice growled. Did not turn around. She recognized the voice. Commander Hask of the mercenaries. He was a reptilian creature, taller than any human, with scales the color of dried blood and yellow eyes that never blinked. I am busy, he said. You are in my way, Hask replied. This is territory now, leave. Finally turned. 3 warriors stood behind Hask, all armed with plasma rifles. They had been causing problems on the station for weeks, stealing supplies, threatening workers. Station security did nothing because they had connections to powerful council members. This is a maintenance corridor, said calmly. It belongs to no one. I am here to fix the air recyclers. When I am finished, I will leave. Hask stepped closer. He was twice her size. His breath smelled like rotting meat. You will leave now, he said. Looked at him for a long moment. Then she gathered her tools and walked away. There was no point in fighting. She would file a report. She would go through proper channels. That was how civilized people solved problems. Behind her, the laughed. Later that evening, found Ho sitting alone in the observation deck, watching the stars. May I ask you something? The small asked quietly. Of course. Why do humans never fight back? They insult you, they threaten you, you always just accept it. Are you afraid? Ho thought about the question for a long time. Finally, he said, do you know why humans smile so much? No. In ancient times on our world, showing teeth was a warning. It meant danger. But over thousands of years, we changed its meaning. Now it means friendship, peace. We chose to make a threat into a welcome. He turned to look at her. Humans are not afraid to fight. We simply believe that fighting should be the last choice, not the first. Tilted her head. But what if the last choice becomes necessary? Ho's smile faded slightly. For just a moment, something cold flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by warmth once again. Then we stopped smiling, he said softly. That night, returned to her quarters and searched the station's database. She found an old file, classified as low priority, written by a researcher who had studied humans decades ago. The file contained a warning. Read it, then read it again. Then she closed the file and told herself it was exaggeration. Humans were kind. Humans were patient. Humans were harmless. She almost believed it. But somewhere deep in her prey species instincts, a small voice whispered that she should be very, very careful around creatures who chose when to show their teeth. 2 weeks passed on orbital station convergence. Nothing changed. Nothing got better. Continued his campaign against humans in every council meeting. He called them parasites. He called them beggars. He said there should be quarantine to prevent them from spreading their weakness to other species. Ho filed complaints. The council reviewed them. The council did nothing. The mercenaries grew bolder. They took over an entire cargo bay and claimed it as their own. They charged fees to anyone who wanted to pass through their territory. Station security looked the other way because Commander Hask paid them well. Park worked 18-hour days repairing the damage they caused. They broke water pipes. They cut power lines. They contaminated food storage units. Every time she fixed something, they broke something else. She never complained. She never shouted. She just kept working. Oh Sung arrived on the station during the 3rd week of problems. He was 41 years old, a security officer transferred from Earth's orbital defense network. He had gray in his hair and gentle eyes that made him look like someone's favorite uncle. He missed his wife and 2 children back on Earth. He talked about them constantly. My daughter wants to be an engineer, he told during their first meeting. Like you, she takes apart everything in the house to see how it works. Smiled. It was hard not to like Sung. He was soft-spoken and kind, the type of man who remembered everyone's birthday and always offered to help carry heavy things. The other species on the station noticed him immediately. They noticed how he moved slowly and spoke quietly. They noticed how he apologized when someone bumped into him, even when it was not his fault. They decided he was harmless. They were wrong. One evening, Sung was walking through the lower market when he heard crying. He followed the sound to a narrow alley between two shops. There, he found a young child curled up on the ground. Three warriors stood over her, laughing. "Please," the child whimpered, "I just want to go home." "Pay the toll first," one of them said. "Everyone pays to walk through territory." "I do not have any credits. Please, I am just a child." They reached down and grabbed the child by her arm. She screamed. "Then we will take something else as payment," the warrior said. "Excuse me." They turned. Sung stood at the entrance of the alley. His hands were at his sides. His expression was calm. "Let the child go," he said quietly. They laughed. "A human, go away, soft creature. This is not your concern." Sung did not move. "She is a child. She is scared. You are grown warriors. There is no honor in this." The holding the child threw her aside and stepped toward Sung. He was a head taller than the human and twice as heavy. "Honor," the warrior repeated. "You speak to us of honor. Your species knows nothing of honor. You know only fear and submission." Sung looked at him steadily. "I am asking you politely to let this matter go. Take me to your commander if you need to punish someone, but leave the child alone." Something in the human's voice made the hesitate. For just a moment, he felt uncertain. Then he remembered that humans were weak, and his confidence returned. "Get out of my sight," the warrior snarled, "before I teach you what happens to creatures who interfere with business." Sung nodded slowly. He walked past the warriors, picked up the trembling child, and carried her away. They did not stop him. They were too confused by his behavior to react. By the time they thought to chase him, he was gone. The incident was reported to Commander Hask that night. "A human took our prey," Hask demanded, "and you let him." "He caught us by surprise," the warrior explained. "He did not fight, he did not run, he just took her and walked away. We did not know what to do." Hask slammed his fist against the wall. "Then we will teach these humans what happens when they interfere. Find where they sleep, find where they eat, make their lives miserable until they learn their place." The attacks on the human section began the next day. Someone cut the power to their quarters at midnight, fixed it in 2 hours. Someone contaminated their water supply. Ho reported it to the council. Nothing happened. Someone painted threats on their doors in languages they could not read. Sung cleaned them off without comment. Day after day, the harassment continued. The humans filed reports. They requested meetings. They followed every proper procedure. They laughed at their weakness. The council ignored their complaints. Other species watched and said nothing. Through it all, the 3 humans remained calm. Until the morning, when came to Ho with tears in her eyes. "They hurt Myra," she whispered, "the young child that Sung had saved. They found her family. They beat her father in front of her. They said it was punishment for accepting human help." Ho set down his teacup very carefully. His movements were precise and controlled. "Is she safe now?" he asked. "Yes, Station Medical is treating her father, but they say this is just the beginning. They say anyone who speaks to humans will suffer the same fate." Ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. "Thank you for telling me. I will handle this." Watched him stand up and straighten his uniform. Something about him seemed changed, though she could not identify what. He looked the same. He moved the same, but something behind his eyes was different now. "Ho," she said hesitantly, "what are you going to do?" He looked at her and she felt a sudden urge to step back. The warm, patient diplomat was still there, but now she could see something else beneath the surface, something old, something waiting. "I am going to give them one more chance," he said. "We always give warnings. It is important to be fair. And if they do not listen." Ho smiled, but this time showing his teeth did not look like friendship. Then we stopped warning. He went a find and Sung. They sat together in his workshop, surrounded by tools and spare parts. They attacked the child's family, Ho said, because Sung helped her, because she spoke to us. His hand stopped moving. Sung's gentle expression hardened. I know, Sung said quietly. I visited Myra this morning. She asked me if it was her fault, if she had done something wrong by letting me help her. The three humans looked at each other. Something unspoken passed between them, an understanding, a decision. I will speak to Hask, Ho said. One final time, I will offer him a chance to stop this peacefully. And when he refuses, asked. Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, then we remind the galaxy why humans survived our world, why we hunted creatures 10 times our size, why nothing on Earth could kill us, no matter how hard it tried. He paused at the door. We gave them every chance. We were patient, we were kind. Now they are hurting innocents, children. His voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. Now I am starting to get irritated. The council chamber was full when Commander Hask made his move. It happened during the morning session. Ho was preparing to present his formal complaint against the mercenaries. He had gathered evidence. He had followed procedures. He believed, despite everything, that the system would work. He was wrong. The doors exploded inward. 20 warriors poured into the chamber, weapons raised. Screams filled the air as ambassadors dove for cover. Hask walked through the chaos like he owned it, his yellow eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Nobody moves, he announced. This station now belongs to the collective. Guards rushed forward. Hask shot 2 of them without looking. The others stopped. I said nobody moves. Stood up from his seat, his arms clicking with outrage. This is madness. You cannot simply take a diplomatic station by force. The council will never accept this. Hask turned to face the ambassador. Then he grabbed by his throat and lifted him off the ground. The council, Hask said slowly, will accept whatever I tell them to accept because I have something they want. He gestured to his warriors. Secure the hostages. Within minutes, 12 beings were forced to the center of the chamber. 8 other ambassadors and 2 station workers. They were bound with energy cuffs and pushed to their knees. Hask activated the station's communication system. His voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every speaker. Attention! This is Commander Hask of the Collective. I control the council chamber. I hold 12 hostages. My demands are simple. Exclusive mining rights to the and systems. Full immunity from prosecution for all activities. And a public statement from the council acknowledging superiority over all other species. He paused. You have 6 hours to comply. For every hour you delay, I will kill 1 hostage, starting with the weakest. He looked directly at, the small trembled. 3 levels below, dropped her tools when she heard the announcement. She ran to the nearest security station and found Sung already there, listening to the chaos on the emergency channels. Where is Ho? She demanded. Sung shook his head. He was outside the chamber when the lockdown started. I cannot reach him on communications. The door behind them opened. Ho stepped inside, breathing hard. He had run all the way from the other side of the station. I heard, he said, 12 hostages, 6 hours. Pulled up a map of the station on the nearest screen. Security is paralyzed. They are afraid that any action will trigger executions. They are probably right, Sung said quietly. Hask is not bluffing, he has killed before. Ho stared at the map, his mind working. Can we contact the council negotiators? Tried. After several minutes, she managed to connect to the emergency response team. The voice on the other end sounded terrified. We are doing everything we can, the negotiator said. Hask is demanding to speak directly with council leadership. We are trying to arrange it now. What about a rescue operation? Ho asked. Impossible. They have sealed the chamber. Any attempt to breach will result in immediate executions. We have no choice but to negotiate." Ho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his expression had changed. "Let me speak to him," he said. The negotiator hesitated. "That is not standard procedure." "I know, do it anyway." There was a long pause. Then Hask's voice came through the speaker, amused and cruel. "The human diplomat wants to talk. How entertaining. Go ahead, little creature. Beg for your friends." Ho gripped the edge of the console. His knuckles turned white. "Commander Hask, I am calling to offer you a chance to end this peacefully. Release the hostages. Surrender yourself to station security. If you do this now, I will personally argue for leniency in your trial." Hask laughed. The sound was ugly. "Leniency? You think I want leniency? I want power. I want respect. I want the galaxy to know that they take what they want and no one can stop them." "You are making a mistake," Ho said. His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it, something dark. "I am asking you one more time to release the hostages. Or what? You will file another complaint. You will write another report." Hask's laughter grew louder. "I have watched your species for weeks. You are pathetic. You take every insult. You accept every humiliation. You have no fire, no strength. You are nothing." Ho was silent for a long moment. Then he said very quietly, "I am giving you a fair warning. This is something my people believe in. We give warnings. We give chances. We believe everyone deserves the opportunity to make better choices." "How touching. But there is something else you should know about humans, Commander." Ho's voice dropped lower. "When we stop giving warnings, we do not give second chances. When we stop being patient, we do not stop until it is finished." Hask snorted. "Is that supposed to frighten me?" "It is supposed to inform you. I have just stopped being patient." The connection cut off. Hask returned to his hostages, still amused. He told his warriors what the human had said. They all laughed. In the small security room, Ho turned to Face and Sung. "They have," he said. "They have innocence. They hurt a child to punish us, and now they will kill ambassadors to make a point." Nodded slowly. "What do you want to do?" Ho reached up and removed his diplomatic credentials. He set them carefully on the console. For a moment, he just looked at them. Then he looked up at his companions. "I want to go in there and bring our people out." Sung removed his security badge and set it next to the credentials. "I have been waiting for someone to say that." Was already pulling up blueprints of the ventilation system. "I know a way in. It is not comfortable, but it will get us inside without being detected." The three humans looked at each other. They were not soldiers anymore. Ho was a diplomat, was an engineer. Sung was a security guard who missed his children. But underneath those titles, they were something else. They were human. And humans had survived ice ages. They had hunted mammoths. They had climbed out of Africa and conquered every corner of their deadly world. They had built cities and split atoms and reached for the stars. They had done all of this not because they were the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous. They had done it because they never gave up, because they worked together, because when something threatened their people, they became something else entirely. Ho straightened his shoulders. "They think we are weak because we choose peace. Let us show them what happens when we choose otherwise." Pulled a maintenance hatch open. "This way, stay quiet, stay together." Sung cracked his knuckles. His gentle eyes had turned hard. Those warriors have no idea what is coming. The three humans disappeared into the darkness of the maintenance tunnels. Behind them, their badges and credentials sat abandoned on the console, the symbols of their civilized roles, the masks they wore to fit into galactic society. They did not need masks anymore. The maintenance tunnels were dark and narrow. Air recyclers hummed in the walls. Cables and pipes ran along the ceiling like metal vines. Led the way. She knew these tunnels better than anyone. She had crawled through them 100 times to fix broken systems and patch damaged equipment. Now she crawled through them for a different purpose. Behind her came Ho, moving with quiet precision. His years as a military translator had taught him how to move without sound, how to watch, how to wait. Sung brought up the rear. His body remembered training from 20 years ago. Orbital defense had required more than just pushing buttons. It had required knowing how to fight in close quarters, how to disable an enemy without killing them. They reached the first checkpoint after 10 minutes. A warrior stood guard at an access hatch, bored and distracted. He never saw Sung coming. The human moved like water. One moment he was in the shadows. The next, he was behind the warrior, his arms wrapped around this neck in a precise hold. The warrior struggled for 3 seconds before going limp. Sung lowered him gently to the ground, not dead, just unconscious. "Clear," he whispered. They moved on. Inside the council chamber, Hask was growing impatient. 2 hours had passed. The council negotiators kept asking for more time, kept promising that they were working on meeting his demands. He did not believe them. "Perhaps we should send a message," he said to his second-in-command. "Something to show them we are serious." He walked along the line of hostages until he reached. The small was shaking so hard she could barely breathe. "You," Hask said, "you work with the humans, you are their friend." Could not speak, terror had stolen her voice. "I think killing you would send a very clear message about what happens to those who ally themselves with weak species." He raised his weapon. A warrior burst through the door. His face was pale with fear. "Commander, we have lost contact with the outer patrols, all 6 of them, no response." Hask lowered his weapon. "What do you mean lost contact?" "They are not answering communications. When we sent someone to check, he did not come back either." Hask felt the first flicker of unease. "It is probably just technical problems. This station is old." "There is something else, Commander. One of the patrols managed to send a partial message before going silent. Just 3 words." "What words?" The warrior swallowed hard. "The humans coming." Hask stared at him. Then he laughed. "3 humans against my warriors. Do not waste my time with such foolishness. Secure the entrances and maintain positions." The lights went out. Complete darkness filled the council chamber. Hostages screamed. Warriors shouted. Hask roared for order. "Find the backup power now." Red emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in bloody shadows. Hask counted his warriors. 18 remained in the chamber, more than enough to handle any threat. Then the first ventilation grate fell open. Sung dropped from the ceiling like a ghost. He landed on top of a warrior and drove him to the ground before anyone could react. His elbow struck another warrior in the throat. His knee took out a third. 3 down in 4 seconds. The remaining warriors raised their weapons, but the darkness and chaos made aiming impossible. They fired blindly, hitting nothing but walls and furniture. Another grate opened on the opposite side of the chamber, emerged with a tool in her hand that crackled with electricity. She had modified a standard maintenance device into something much more dangerous. She touched it to the nearest warrior. He convulsed and collapsed. 2 more tried to grab her. She ducked under their arms, moving with a speed that seemed impossible for someone who spent her days fixing machines. The engineering work had made her strong. The constant harassment had made her angry. She took both warriors down without hesitation. Hask finally found his voice. Kill them now." His warriors tried. They really tried. But the humans were not fighting like the aliens expected. They did not stand still and exchange fire. They did not give speeches or make threats. They simply moved through the darkness like predators, striking and vanishing before anyone could respond. Ho appeared behind a group of 3 warriors. His hands moved in patterns that seemed almost gentle, pressing specific points on their bodies. One by one, they crumpled. A warrior managed to grab from behind. She went limp in his arms, then suddenly twisted in a way that should have been impossible. Her elbow found his face. Her foot found his knee. He went down screaming. Sung faced 5 warriors at once. They surrounded him, confident in their numbers. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. 30 seconds later, all 5 were on the ground. Hask watched his forces collapse around him. 20 of the galaxy's most feared mercenaries, defeated by 3 soft, weak, pathetic humans. It was impossible. It could not be happening. But it was. The last warrior fell. Hask stood alone in the center of the chamber, surrounded by unconscious bodies. The 3 humans emerged from the shadows and approached him slowly. "This is not possible," Hask whispered. "You are humans, you are weak. Everyone knows this." Ho stopped 3 meters away. His diplomatic clothes were torn and dirty. A cut on his forehead dripped blood into his eye. He did not seem to notice. "You misunderstood something important about our species, Commander," he said. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "We do not avoid violence because we are incapable of it. We avoid it because we know exactly what we are capable of." Hask raised his weapon. "Stay back." Ho kept walking forward. Hask fired. The plasma bolt hit Ho in the shoulder. He stumbled but did not fall. He did not even slow down. His eyes remained fixed on Hask with absolute focus. "I gave you chances," Ho said, still walking. "I was polite. I followed proper procedures. I filed complaints and requested meetings and tried to solve this peacefully." Hask fired again. The bolt went wide as his hands shook. "I warned you. I told you what would happen if you continued. You did not listen." Ho reached Hask. The massive reptilian warrior stood frozen, unable to understand how a creature half his size could radiate such absolute menace. "You hurt innocents. You threatened children. You made me watch while you terrorized people under my protection." Ho's hand shot out and grabbed Hask's weapon. He twisted it away with a single motion, then crushed it in his grip. "Now I am getting irritated." Hask threw a punch with all his strength. Ho caught his fist. The commander tried again with his other hand. Ho caught that one too. For a moment they stood locked together. Hask was bigger. Hask was stronger. Hask was a warrior born and bred. But Ho was human, and humans had learned to fight things much more dangerous than mercenaries. The fight lasted 12 seconds. When it was over, Hask lay on the ground, barely conscious. Ho stood over him, breathing hard. "This is mercy," Ho said quietly. "We are choosing not to kill you. Remember that. Remember that we could have. Remember that we decided you were worth more alive." He turned to the hostages, was already freeing them from their restraints. Sung was checking them for injuries. Stared at Ho with wide eyes. She had watched the entire battle. She had seen the gentle diplomat become something else entirely. "Ho," she whispered, "what are you?" He looked at her. The coldness faded from his eyes, replaced by warmth. He smiled, and this time it looked like friendship again. "I am human," he said simply. "We are all human. This is what that means." The emergency lights flickered. Normal power returned. The council chamber was filled with groaning mercenaries and shocked hostages, and 3 exhausted humans standing in the middle of it all. Somewhere in the distance, alarms began to wail as station security finally mobilized. But the battle was already over. The medical bay was crowded. Station doctors moved between beds, treating injuries and checking vital signs. Most of the patients were mercenaries. They would all survive. Ho sat on a medical table while a doctor examined the plasma burn on his shoulder. It hurt, but he had experienced worse. The wound would heal. Sat nearby, getting her bruised ribs wrapped. Sung had a broken finger that he had not even noticed until the fight was over. They were tired. They were injured, but they were alive. The council chamber had been secured. All 20 warriors were in custody. Commander Hask was under heavy guard in a separate holding cell, still unable to understand what had happened to him. Station security had many questions. How had 3 humans defeated 20 trained warriors? Where had they learned to fight like that? Was this some kind of secret military training? Ho answered each question patiently. No, it was not secret training. Yes, all humans could do this under the right circumstances. No, they did not enjoy it. The security chief shook his head. I have worked with humans for years. I thought I knew your species. Clearly, I was wrong. You knew part of us, Ho said. The part we choose to show. Most of the time, that is the only part that matters. And the other part? Ho looked at him steadily. Hopefully, you will never need to see it again. Ambassador visited the medical bay that evening. The moved slowly, his compound eyes fixed on the human diplomat. He seemed uncertain, almost nervous. It was a strange look for someone who had spent weeks insulting humanity. May I speak with you? Asked. Ho nodded, of course. Was silent for a long moment. His arms clicked softly against his shell. I do not understand, he finally said. For weeks I called your species weak. I said you were pathetic. I said you deserved no respect. You never argued, you never fought back, you just accepted it. Yes, but you are not weak. What I saw today proved that beyond any doubt. Those warriors were some of the finest fighters in the galaxy. You destroyed them in minutes. Ho considered his words carefully. Ambassador, may I ask you a question? Nodded. In your culture, what is the purpose of strength? The thought about this. To dominate, to prove superiority, to make others fear you. I see. Ho shifted on the medical table. In human culture, strength has a different purpose. We believe strength exists to protect, to defend, to serve others who cannot defend themselves. But if you have strength, why not use it? Why let others insult you? Why pretend to be less than you are? Ho smiled. We do not pretend, we choose. Every day we wake up and we choose patience over anger, diplomacy over violence, kindness over cruelty. That is not weakness, Ambassador. That is discipline. His arms stopped clicking. He stared at the human with something that might have been respect. I was wrong about your species, he said quietly. I apologize. Ho extended his uninjured hand. After a moment of hesitation, took it. Apology accepted, Ho said. Now perhaps we can start again, as equals. The next day, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was called. Every ambassador attended. Every seat was filled. The chamber had been cleaned, but scorch marks still decorated the walls, reminders of what had happened. Stood before the assembly. In her hands, she held a data pad containing an old research file, a file she had dismissed weeks ago as exaggeration. Honored ambassadors, she began, her voice stronger than usual. With your permission, I would like to read from a document written by a researcher many decades ago. It concerns the human species. The council gave its permission, began to read. Humans are not apex predators in the traditional sense. They are not the fastest creatures on their world. They are not the strongest. They do not have natural weapons like claws or fangs or poison. She paused. But they are perhaps the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, continued. Humans survived their world through persistence, adaptability, and cooperative aggression. They hunted animals 10 times their size by chasing them until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They built civilizations in deserts, on mountains, in frozen wastelands. They conquered every environment their planet could offer. She looked up at the assembly. Most importantly, humans choose when to fight. They prefer peace. They genuinely desire cooperation and friendship, but they have a threshold. When that threshold is crossed, especially when they're young or their companions are threatened, they become something else entirely. The chamber was silent. Every eye was fixed on the small translator. The galaxy has learned one rule about humans. When a human says they are getting irritated, you have already made a terrible mistake. At that point, there is only one sensible course of action. She lowered the data pad. Run! Commander Hask was brought before the council the following week for judgment. He walked into the chamber in chains, his scales dull, his yellow eyes filled with something he had never felt before. Fear. The council sentenced him to 40 years in a rehabilitation facility. His mercenary company was disbanded. His assets were seized. Before he was taken away, Sung approached him. The human security officer looked the same as always, gentle eyes, friendly expression, the kind of man who remembered birthdays and helped carry heavy things. Hask flinched away from him. "Do not worry," Sung said quietly. "I am not going to hurt you. I just wanted to answer a question you might be asking yourself." Hask said nothing. "You are wondering why we did not kill you, why we showed mercy to someone who would not have shown it to us." Hask nodded slowly. Sung smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. "Because killing you was never the point. Stopping you was. Protecting innocence was. We do not fight to destroy our enemies. We fight to protect our friends." He turned and walked away. Hask watched him go, and for the first time in his life, he understood what true strength looked like. Life on orbital station Convergence slowly returned to normal. The mercenaries were gone. The power struggles ended. Trade continued. Diplomacy resumed. But something had changed. Other species treated humans differently now. Not with fear exactly, but with a new kind of respect. When a human entered a room, conversations quieted. When a human made a request, it was considered carefully. Ho returned to his diplomatic duties. He attended meetings, filed reports, negotiated trade agreements. He smiled and made jokes and asked about other species' cultures. He was the same patient, kind diplomat he had always been. But now everyone could see what lay beneath. On his last day before returning to Earth for vacation, found him in the observation deck, watching the stars. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for saving me, for saving all of us." Ho turned and smiled. "You are welcome. I am glad you are safe." She hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How do you do it? How do you go back to being?" She searched for words, the friendly diplomat after being the other thing. Ho considered the question for a long time. "We never stop being both," he said finally. "Humans have always been this way. We are capable of great kindness and great violence. What defines us is which one we choose. Every day we choose kindness. Every day we choose patience. Every day we choose to smile instead of showing our teeth." He looked back at the stars. "But we never forget how to bite." Nodded slowly. She understood now. Humans were not weak creatures pretending to be strong. They were dangerous creatures choosing to be gentle. And that was far more impressive. She left him alone with the stars. As she walked away, she passed a group of young children being escorted through the station. One of them, a small girl with silver fur, broke away and ran toward Ho. Myra, her teacher, called, "Come back." But Myra had already reached the human. She wrapped her small arms around his leg in a hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving my papa." Ho knelt down so he could look her in the eyes. His expression was warm, gentle, completely unthreatening. "You are very welcome," he said. "Stay safe, little one." Myra smiled and ran back to her group. Ho watched her go, and something in his chest felt lighter. This was why humans chose peace. Not because they were weak, but because the galaxy deserved protectors who knew when to fight and when to forgive. And humans would always be there to remind everyone of the difference.